All right. Morning kick arounds, culture war here for Friday morning. Dual nationals and their role in the United States men's national team. This was a hot topic and a bit of a culture war thing a few years ago, but the conversation is really coming back to the fore, Jason.
I mean, it is on some level coming back to the fore in the sense that there are dual nationals that American soccer fans want to see added to the player pool for the U.S. men's national team. The group right now is sort of thick with dual nationals.
Sure
right?
is.
And it's just the nature of modern life that people move around, that obviously immigration happens and people of different backgrounds get together and have kids. And then they're like, well, our kids could play for two different countries once they become excellent soccer players. I mean, I'm thinking about it. Christian Pulisic, technically a dual national before, and there was never really a sense he was going to play for Croatia, but it was on the table. He could have decided to play for Croatia. It's what helped him get to Dortmund in the first place, that he had Croatian heritage that allowed him to get the European passport and make the move before the age of 18. Tim Weah clearly could have played for a couple of different countries. His dad's country, of Liberia, but, American by birth. Of course, we've got Balogun. Ricardo Pepi could have played for Mexico. I mean, Jedi Robinson. Yeah, absolutely. There are lots of players across our team. Christopher Lund, we just added him as a player. Clearly not just a U.S. eligible player added to the group recently. I mean, we keep going. I mean, sometimes you don't even know about them because a player like comes through an MLS academy or something, and he's just an American. He plays for the U.S. youth teams, and then he migrates his way into the U.S. men's national team. You're like, oh, he's got like a Czech grandfather? I had no idea. And he could have played for, Czech Republic or Czechia, whatever we're calling it now. That stuff happens like on a regular basis. What's interesting is that we are in this moment again where we never, with our national team, I feel like we're probably never going to be in a place, and this is the nature of America in terms of people of different backgrounds, but we're never going to be in a place where it's like, well, we're solid. Like our team is just good. And we don't need to be worried about whether some young player who hasn't yet played for our national teams, who has been playing for other youth national teams, or maybe hasn't played for any youth national teams at all, chooses us over that other country. What always fascinates me is that American fans get in their feelings about this stuff, and it's not just about the soccer part of it. It's not just about the on-field product for the U.S. men and whether we're going to win more games because we've got this player. It's validation of us as a soccer nation. If a talented player who has options picks us over the other option, we feel better about ourselves. We feel better about our country and our national team. I think Sergiño Dest was an interesting case study in how things turned a bit from previous generations. Because Robert, you and I were putting together a list of dual nationals, through the years. I mean, it's just off the top of my head. Jermaine Jones, Thomas Dooley. I'd have to, there's a ton of them, right? There's just Ernie Stewart. There's a ton of them. But what was always the case, up until Sergiño Dest, at least in my mind, is that those players who were dual nationals were very unlikely to break into the national team that the other national team they were eligible for.
Yeah.
Jermaine Jones was a very good player and a very good player for the United States. He was never going to play for Germany. He played for the youth teams. He hit a wall. He ran into the glass ceiling or whatever ceiling there was in Germany. He was like, I'm not going to play for Germany, but I want to play in a World Cup. I'm going to declare for the United States because I'm eligible.
Yeah, he got what he wanted. I mean, he had his star moment.
And I'm glad he did. Sergiño Dest picked, again, you can look at the things that have happened since then and go, well, maybe he would have never really played for the Dutch. I don't know. But at the time, they were actively saying, we want you to play for us. We have a role for you in the Dutch national team. And Sergiño Dest, weirdo that he is, said, no, I'm going to play for the U.S. I'm going to play for the United States. Why he chose the United States over Holland or the Netherlands, I don't really know. That's in his brain. And again, he's a weirdo. I'm glad he did. It felt different. It felt like, okay, we've actually got something cooking here, that a player with an option better than the United States wants to choose in terms of their success, their history, their place in world football. Right? Netherlands just saw them beat us in the World Cup last time around, and maybe Serginho Dest was kicking himself about that. I don't know, but he chose us instead of them, and we felt, oh my God, look, this is great. It means we're on the rise. So again, whether it's Luca Coglioscio, who is Italian and Canadian and American, whether it's Henry Chase, who is Japanese and American, and you can maybe Japan is an example of a better footballing nation than the United States. Really, I think maybe right now they're better, but historically it's not like they're a power. So I don't know if that dynamic necessarily works in terms of like the what Chase chooses is about us as much as or about us being better than Japan or the other way around. But I do think it's interesting, and I do think we put a little too much emphasis, or have historically, on recruiting dual nationals, at least mentally as fans. Like, it's very important to us in a way that sometimes doesn't play out in terms of the talent that the player actually brings to the table.
At the top, I said that it was more of a controversial or a heated conversation with the dual nationals, and I think that kind of is telling of where the fan base has turned now, because the last few years they have the American national team has had success recruiting dual nationals. I think that's one of Greg Berhalter's successes, was the quality of player he was able to bring in from the dual national group of players. It is exciting though to see kind of a American eligible players somewhat, rise from the weeds. Like seeing a new American that I wasn't aware of pop up in a Champions League for Dortmund was pretty exciting this week. He's Iceland born, already switched affiliations to the USA in March 2024. Cole Campbell featuring for Dortmund in the Champions League.
Right. So this is also that thing. Cole Campbell is going to be a U.S. international, right? Because of the way the paperwork works, he cannot be anything else. So we don't have to worry about that part of it, the recruitment part, the panicking part. You got to get him in and make him feel wanted because we want him to choose us. That's already happened. Now it's just about when is his moment to graduate into the U.S. men's national team, right? And that's up to Mauricio Pochettino. And does Cole Campbell getting late game minutes in the Champions League suddenly elevate him to he should be called into our 23 or 25 man roster for meaningful matches? And I would, my sense is it's a little early for that he's just not experienced enough as a professional. But then again, if you're good enough, you're old enough, and it's not like Spain was waiting around. Oh man, Lamine Yamal, he needs like, I don't know, 10 more games or something. Like, he's not quite there. He's still baking. Like, wait until the timer goes off. No, they were like, how old are you? You're 16? Let's go. Help us win a European championship. And it doesn't matter how many games you've actually played for Barcelona. And obviously, he'd already played a significant amount of games for Barcelona. My point is, like, knowing when that threshold is, or when a player is ready, and when they are above a player with more experience, who maybe is in a different situation. Maybe they're not playing at a club like Dortmund. Maybe they're not playing in Champions League football. I think that's really interesting.
You'd say of these, newly emergent dual national possibilities, the position of need where it would probably mean the most to the squad and the player pool would be Henry Chase at Stuttgart.
Yes.
He's a defender, and of the screaming needs for the U.S. men's national team, you got to say defender is one of it. So, I mean, obviously, Coglioscio at Burnley, a winger and a forward. You can always use more of those. Cole Campbell, a forward, but Chase at Stuttgart, defender, much needed.
Yes, I would be very happy if a talented player, and if you're breaking through at Stuttgart, you're obviously a talented player, decides to play for the United States and gives us another option. That would be great, because when you look at the pipeline, if you eliminate dual nationals who are not committed to the United States from your mind, because you can't know for sure if they're going to play for you or not. If you're just talking about the players who don't have options, who are locked into the United States men's national team, if you look at center back, it's kind of like, oh, there's nobody here. Here's a tumbleweed. Where's Jalen Neal? What's going on with him? right? Regression. I mean, that's about it, right? And so, yeah, that would be nice. By the way, can I also just make a request? Is there any dual national goalkeepers laying around? Can anybody play for the United States who can play a decent goalkeeper? Just asking, wondering if that's a thing. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I thought of this when considering the topic of misses of dual nationals that American fans were really excited about. And I recall one of the first American related soccer podcasts I was on, Last Word on Soccer, back probably 8 years ago. It was Jonathan Gonzalez was the player
Oh
that I
man.
was recalling, the
Oh man.
furor of the Mexican American defender. News came out, or some things were leaked to the press that they didn't feel welcome. The family didn't have any contact with the
Yeah.
American Federation. I remember there being quite the fervor surrounding Jonathan Gonzalez.
Okay, so I've been doing radio for a while. I was doing the United States of Soccer when the Jonathan Gonzalez thing erupted. I remember having some passionate discussions with Sebastian Salazar about this on the radio. The story
Who thought it was a
was
bigger deal?
Yeah, I mean, so this was, this was about a lot of things. It was never entirely clear, and obviously time and history has told us this story, whether Jonathan Gonzalez was good enough. I think it's pretty safe to say he wasn't good enough. Now, you don't know, in sort of that multiverse way, different timelines, if things had gone differently for Jonathan Gonzalez, would he be a better player today? I can't know that, right? I don't have that capability. I don't have Calvin's box to jump in and see what else is happening in a different universe.
I don't know that one. I don't know
Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes always he had a box, and his box could do many things. All right, you go read up on your Calvin and Hobbes, Rob.
I guess
Disappointing, very disappointing today. We don't know if he could have been good if things had been different for Gonzalez, but at the time he looked to be a very talented player coming through Monterrey. In a midfielder, I think is what he was. And really what upset people is that it looked like he was going to be good enough to play for one of those national teams, the United States or Mexico. He had been raised in the United States, so there was this sense on the American side that he was more ours than theirs. Is that, I don't know if that's the right way to think about it, but sort of this idea that he should be pliable towards playing for the United States because of his background. And if we didn't give him the full court press, if we didn't throw everything we could at him to convince him to play for the United States, then that was a dereliction of duty on the part of U.S. soccer. And Thomas Roggen was in charge of the U20s at the time. I think that's right. And he famously said, I went to Mexico to talk to Jonathan Gonzalez after he had relocated down there because of playing for Monterrey. And it turns out he didn't go. It turns out he didn't actually go. Jonathan Gonzalez also apparently was upset about not getting included, I think, in an Olympic team or an Olympic qualification team, which, of course, we did qualify for the Olympics. As you said, there was some rumblings from the family, didn't feel wanted. This is where I get uncomfortable, right? Because this now has turned this from, is he good enough to play for our national team? Yes, call him up, into we have to recruit any player who shows any spark of promise, meaning we have to send resources and have people with important jobs in soccer in this country spend time on trying to recruit a player who may or may not, and nobody can predict the future, be good enough to help us later on down the road, right? Why is Jonathan Gonzalez more important than a player in an MLS academy breaking through, trying to get into an MLS team, right? Why is he more important? Because he's eligible for two countries, and if you don't spend time, he might play for Mexico. I feel like a lot of this is just let the kid figure it out. Like, is it right for the family to claim that they didn't feel wanted when only dual nationals are going to get this whole recruitment process? A player who's 17 years old, who's only eligible for the United States, is never going to get a call from the head coach of the U20 team before he gets called into the national team. But for another, hey, we really want you for this team. Well, yeah, I mean, if you call me up, I'll play. I have no other choice. But because Jonathan Gonzalez is eligible for Mexico, there's this sinkhole of time and resources that we fall into, and it's odd to me. It is odd to me.
Some other notable dual nets that didn't come America's way. Ventura Alvarado, another one that chose Mexico. Jonathan David chose Canada. Could have come to the United States. That would have been an interesting addition.
Yeah,
And
I do have a story on Jonathan David. So I think I don't know if people have been really tracking it. He's been Canadian for a while now. He's been scoring goals and playing for Canada very well. The child of Haitian immigrants to the United States, or Haitian refugees, I guess you might be able to put that label on them. Born in the United States, didn't spend a lot of time in the U.S., went to Canada pretty young. I was always felt Canadian. He did get a call. Tab Ramos tried to get him to play for the United States at the youth level, and Jonathan David was always committed to Canada. So that's one of those where, like, I'm kind of glad it worked out that way, that we didn't have to go through this song and dance of, oh, is he going to play for us? Or maybe he's not going to play for us. He's still not cap tied. Oh, send somebody. You better call him up. Send him a billion text messages. Just let the player decide what he feels is the right choice for him. And it also degrades the purpose of international football, Rob, if you think about it. Right? This is supposed to be a reflection of our soccer identity, our culture, our ability to play, our ability to grow players in our own country on some level. Now, the rules are the rules. And just because you're born somewhere else and raised somewhere else and one of your parents maybe isn't American doesn't mean you're less American. And I'm happy to have Jedi Robinson, and I'm happy to have a lot of these dual nationals. Fowler and Balogun, that thing was crazy, right? When he was in Orlando, we're all tracking his movements and stuff. But if you think about it, right? If you think about what international football was originally supposed to be and kind of what it is now, this is not really just about American soccer. Now it's sort of about American empire. It's sort of about the lure of America as a place for immigrants, and again, our desire to reach around the world and touch every part of it. I mean, some of that is questionable, if you know what I'm saying.
A couple other players that chose other countries to represent from their dual national, completely different situation, but legendary Premier League goalkeeper Asmir Begovic was he decided to play for Bosnia early on, but could have been eligible for the United States. And a player who took a lot of flack for his decision not to join USA, partially because of a game where they went head to head, but Giuseppe Rossi, I remember, was a big deal. Well, American striker from New Jersey, chose to play for Italy, and I think he scored a hat trick against the United States.
You might have. Obviously, Giuseppe Rossi's career marked by injury, so he never really reached the heights that it seemed he had promise of.
But when the decision was made, or at least made public, he was.
I mean, that was a thing, right? That was a big thing. Believe Thomas Rongen involved in that one as well.
He's got his fingerprints in all sorts of things.
Thomas Rongen is kind of the Forrest Gump of American soccer, if you think about it. It kind of pops up everywhere. He's got a movie about him, that kind of stuff. But look, again, Giuseppe Rossi, he sort of is patient zero for all of this and the panic. I mean, you have to be old enough and have really cared about the national team at a time when the fan base was pretty small to have lived through the Giuseppe Rossi panic and craziness. And Nevin Subotic was also part of that around the same time frame. Same time frame.
Good defender.
Yeah, those players, again, had every right to choose the countries to represent they wanted to represent. And
didn't Subotic not come because of Rongen?
I think that Subotic may have been a Rongen situation. That may have been the one I'm thinking of. Maybe not the Rossi thing. Yeah, again, this is where I don't like it, because could Thomas Rongen have done something different and we gotten a talented defender to play for the United States? Yeah, I guess he could have. It could have come down to that, but it shouldn't. Like, it shouldn't come down to whether or not Thomas Rongen picked up a phone or went to Mexico. Mm-hmm. Like, it shouldn't come down to whether or not a kid felt a little bit more wanted by one country or the other. It should come down to what that player feels in his heart is the country he wants to represent. Now, I know it's 2024, and I'm not an idiot. I'm not naive. A lot of these players are making decisions based on financial considerations or what's possible for them. In fact, related to this, I once had a heated interview with the president of the Icelandic Football Association.
Oh, really?
This is before Iceland popped up as a surprising inclusion in European championships and World Cups. Right, this is before they went through their golden era. They were still building to that.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember Aaron Johansson
Mm-hmm.
chose to play for the United States over Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
Now he by no means was some superstar, but he had scored some goals in Holland, I think, at that point. Mm-hmm. And so he was on the radar of both nations. And he chose the United States. And the president of the Iceland FA was mad about it. He was angry. He was hot. He thought Aaron Johansson had chosen the United States on the promise of making money, and that playing for the U.S. was going to be better, or Aaron believed it was going to be better for his bank account. And he saw this as a problem. He saw this as something unfair. He saw this as something that could be elevated to a grievance with FIFA, if I remember my interview correctly. So, again, did Aaron Johansson feel American and choose America, choose the United States because he felt in his heart he was American? I don't know. You have to talk to Aaron Johansson about that, right? I don't know. Again, the rules are the rules. And since you can't know somebody's heart, you can't hold them to that. Like, do you sing the national anthem? No, you can't play for us. Like, that stuff is really, really tricky.
As a dual national myself, I would have been fielding offers. See who gave me the best deal to see who could win my heart over. I had little speeches prepared and decisions made when I was made those offers, trying to win my heart between England and USA. But
now, see, here's
they'll
the thing,
never know. They didn't include my family into the camps or anything, so I decided to walk away from both.
I wonder. So we are so focused on getting dual nationals who are raised somewhere else. And a lot of them, not all of them, I think Chase, by the way, it sounds very American, but a lot of them, they'll bring an accent. Like, we've got Jedi Robinson, who does not sound American, playing for the U.S. men's national team. Again, he is American, but he doesn't sound like us. And it doesn't. We have we had it where it goes the other way? An American has landed. Like, imagine an American dual national like you, Robert, who gets called up to the England nationals. I guess it has happened. Who's the kid in New England who's gotten a call into the youth teams for England? The Revolution player, the midfielder. Somebody's going to have to remind me.
That's a deep cut from my
which player. Anyway, there is a little bit of this going the other way, where these American-raised players are now getting eyed by foreign countries. And I'm thinking about, like, okay, so we've got Jedi Robinson bringing his English accent into our team. If you walk in and you have an American accent in the England national team, is that weird? Noel Buck is, by the way, the name of that player I'm thinking of. Thank you to Japheth Contreras. Noel Buck, yeah. Because, Owen Hargreaves, where was he raised? Because I can't remember. I know he was Canadian and then played for England because he was eligible, but I can't remember. I don't. And the
English treated him like he wasn't English. That's for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
I was mostly playing club in Germany. People just never got over that.
That's probably part of it too. Yeah, they don't like their English players going to Germany for some reason. And every game.
There's an English player who found some sort of South American roots. There's a very English, like, championship level player playing for a South American club right now too. And I remember there's being some good jokes about, I think it was a Brummie playing in South America.
Okay, nice. I love those idiosyncrasies of world international football. I like that stuff. I'm like, when you're watching a team play and you're like, that guy looks different from everybody else. Wonder what his background is.
Jim Smith is from Venezuela.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There's that one. Yeah. I mean, and again, I love this stuff. I'm American. I like the melting pot. I'm for the melting pot. When you see a black player playing for Japan, your brain kind of goes, well, that's not what I'm used to, but I bet you there's a story there. So yeah.
Yeah, Mike Thomas throwing out a good comment, not American related, but The Jamaican national team extremely divided by, I mean, that federation has its own issues, but yeah, going between domestic players or finding dual nationals of, players in England and having them come back, and who are you prioritizing, has
Yeah.
definitely sent some rumblings into that squad.
Yeah, I mean, you've got stories of players being eligible and playing for nations and not speaking the language everybody else speaks. I mean, players that are going to play for maybe your Brummy player is one of these. Playing for a Latin American country and not speaking Spanish has to be a very unique experience, I imagine. In fact, since we are talking, you're a dual national yourself. I am not. I'm only eligible for the United States. I have no options. No one's recruiting me. But my kid, should he become something of a commodity, will have options. He will be able to play for both Puerto Rico and the United States of America. So, let's start the bidding now. I mean, we'll take offers. I want to feel like he's getting the right attention. I know Puerto Rico's not much of a soccer power right now, but maybe he's the player to put them over the top. So let's do this.
All right, American Soccer Scouts, send your emails into morningkickaround@gmail.com. Get your early claims in to the young Davis child. He's going to be a hot commodity one of these days. You want to get your name in early so that Jason remembers, who held some confidence in young Tiago first.
Yep, there you go. I need jerseys with his name on them. He's a size 5 right now. Go for it.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Give us a subscribe on YouTube. One of the building blocks for this channel is subscribe. Before I got involved in this, watched things for 10 years, didn't hit the subscribe button. Now I know the error of my ways and how important it is to the creators behind the content. Hit the subscribe button. We will wait on the edge of our seat for the Pochettino's picks on Sunday morning. And until then, and then when we return on Monday morning, everybody enjoy your soccer. Enjoy Dave and Buster's, Jason.
Thank you.